but I almost don't count Talladega or Daytona in terms of great racing because with restrictor plates, how can you not have craziness or excitement going on? So I mean that kind of I just throw that away out of the equation and whatnot. Other than that, I mean, there's been decent races. There have been times I thought is really interesting. I think maybe Martinsville, but Martinsville again, like you couldn't even think of it when I asked you to name one.
It's just
I didn't really watch California. Vegas was Atlanta was Every week I just found myself going, it just wasn't that great.
And see that says something right there because you are. I will say this: you are one of the biggest NASCAR fans I know.
Uh-huh.
You are a dedicated fan. You will stand up for the sport. You'll stand up for your driver. You'll watch all the races, and quite honestly, to me, that says something. If you're saying something like that, I mean, I know that you wouldn't consider like leaving.
Oh, I'm never gonna be done with auto racing.
Yeah, but it's just kind of like, I really, really think that they need to look at different things to do. And I mean, I guess the thing is, we're sitting here talking about they need to change something. I don't know what I would tell them to change. I mean, go back to the old car, but that's not going to happen.
Oh, no, you couldn't. It was bad enough asking all the teams to spend all this money to build all these new cars. I don't know what they can do to this brick to make it more aerodynamic without, and here's the thing they kept saying is, that came out of the quote town hall state of the sort meetings was, what can we do to make it better? Well, we're not going to do anything to the car that's going to require us to make major changes right now. That'll up the cost because the whole point of the car is to not only be safer, but to lower costs, which is true. I'm afraid that there's not much you can do to this car without huge alterations. And that's the shame of it because I know that they're developing this car of tomorrow for the Busch Series, and from what I've heard, it races really good or it drives really good compared to these ones. And because of that, it's almost like I wish they'd almost used the Busch Series as the guinea pig before introducing it to Cup and made the Cup one the better car. But then again, at the same time, we've talked about this before, the Busch Series needs help too.
Yeah. So. It's disappointing. And then to help, I mean, I know it was out of their control, but this week's race didn't help that.
Well,
Well, I mean, as far as the fact that Kyle Busch, led like all but 12 laps?
Well, I don't... Really? Was that the statistic?
Yeah.
It didn't feel like that watching it. Well, and this, I think I said this like a week or two ago. Maybe, I don't know if it was on here or not, or I said it sometime recently, that we've been really lucky as far as rain this year. And I guess they've been saving up until this weekend because, I mean, they hit the Busch race on Saturday, which ended up with Mike Bliss, of all people, winning. And then they had the race postponed on Sunday, which was kind of a downer because after you come off of Indy, you're like, okay, that was just the appetizer. Now let's get on to the thing I'm really looking forward to, the main course. And then just got postponed another day. And even then, it went on for when they got 70 laps in and rain came back. And it was another hour and a half delay. Then they started going again, and they had a caution at one point for rain. And I even got to the point where they were planning to be done by 3 o'clock, and they were still racing at 3 o'clock, so they stopped the race to do the moment of silence, which... tell me how you feel about that. I'm just curious. That moment of silence moment.
I actually did see that part. I did see that part. And great gesture, but and for fear of, sounding unpatriotic,
Un-American,
or anything like that. I don't know. It was kind of weird. I'm just gonna be honest. It was kind of weird.
Actually, I kind of agree with you. I thought it was really bizarre. But again, I don't want to. NASCAR made a very popular call there, and NASCAR needed to win. And I don't blame them for making that. Here's the thing: if I'm in control of the race, I wasn't even aware that somebody had called for a moment of silence at 3 o'clock.
I didn't either.
So
I had not, because they made it sound like it was a huge thing. I didn't even know about it, and nobody I even talked to knew about it.
I'm sure it was a huge thing to NASCAR or to the community. If I'm in the control of the race, let's just say I'm like Mike Helton, somebody says, "Hey, we're supposed to, it's almost 3 o'clock. We're supposed to have a moment of silence at 3 o'clock." I go, "Okay." Now, if they say, "You want to stop everybody?" I'm like, "Sure." To me, I take it very lightly, but that's just me. I take a lot of things very lightly. But I just wanted to see what you thought. It was really bizarre.
Weird. I thought it was, yeah.
It was bizarre because they stopped. Here's what happened was they threw a caution about 2:58 p.m. and brought all the crewmen lined up on pit road, and all the cars came on the front stretch, and they stopped on the front stretch for about a minute and a half. as for a moment of silence. And it was the most bizarre thing because they threw a caution for nothing. I mean, it wasn't even a competition caution, check your tires and all that. It was just stop. Everything stopped. And it was cool, but it was really weird.
It was actually, and we can say that's the first time we've ever seen anything like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I remember they came back from the commercial.
Yeah, and it was
Mike Joy actually was like, he actually had like that almost like somber kind of sound in his voice, and he was like, "Well, the caution's out. It's not for debris. It's not for rain. It's not for a crash." It was just weird to me because as he was saying that, I was like, I have no idea what this is for. Mm-hmm. I mean, were you thinking that too?
No, actually, me and Kyle were playing the NASCAR board game at the time.
You actually missed it?
No, we were watching it. We were playing the NASCAR board game in front of the TV, so we were like half paying attention. And so I looked up, and they're like coming down the front stretch and stopping, and I'm like, okay then.
Yeah, it was just very weird. The one thing I was gonna say, the race, because of what you said about the appetizer and then the main course and just the whole mystique of the weekend, and we were grilling, we were having a great time, we had friends over. The whole thing. I was actually quite excited for Monday. If they got it in, fine. I could deal with the fact that it was postponed to Monday.
The one thing I was happy about was I was not sure I'd see the race if it went green Sunday night because I had to get up the next morning. Yeah. So I was happy to be able to see it.
I was actually quite excited about it too. And then it just left me. I texted you this the other day. It just left me very dissatisfied.
It was very anticlimactic, and also at the same time, don't get us wrong. I shouldn't say, I'm not speaking for you. I'm very happy for David Rudiman. I like him. He seems like a cool guy, and he's been on the cusp, especially with a team like Michael Waltrip Racing. It's the franchise of Michael Waltrip Racing. It's almost like a backhanded compliment.
Here's my thoughts. A couple of my thoughts on that. I'm very happy for David Rudiman. What I like is what I do like about it is he's not been like a 30th place car all year.
Yeah.
He has been a solid team. However, in this race, he really wasn't. And what my other thought on this is, what amuses me is he, unlike, for example, Matt Kenseth or something, where they were like, for example, this is what David Rudiman didn't do. He didn't say, "Oh yeah, our car was awesome today, and we just made a right strategy call at the end." He basically said in his post-race interview, "Yeah, this is awesome. The next one will earn."
Yeah.
And I paraphrase.
Well, and you know what? It was cheap. People like to forget about these certain races like this and they act like it's not cheap, man. These wins like that are cheap. Just like fuel mileage wins are cheap and things like that. It's not like you actually went out and like beat somebody in a one-on-one race. You had to kind of steal it.
Steal is a very good word. Like we said, the solace we can get a little bit is that he's run decent this year. We knew it was coming.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say that if it weren't for today, would I say he's going to win a race this year?
Maybe.
I'll say this. It's feasible. Compared to this time last year or his rookie year, it was not feasible. And so that's why it's kind of like, okay, good for him. And, I give Mikey by Mikey, I mean Michael Waltrip, the owner and driver, a lot of crap, and he does a lot of things that I just roll my eyes at or whatever. But good for him because, I mean, he has had a rough go of it as an owner. And, this is kind of brings legitimacy to their organization and to Rudiman and all that. Makes him seem very smart, for starting all this.
I'm happy for the team. I'll say this. I would like to see him earn a win this year. Now. And I don't want that to be his only win for like several years.
Yeah. I mean, he's really close to being, I mean, if he doesn't do anything else in his career, Monday was a answer to a trivia question. That's all it was. There's going to be somebody asking in 10 years, so who won, name the 6 drivers who won their first career race in the Coke 600, and you're going to try to remember that one of them was David Rudiman. Just like,
and there'll be a little asterisk that it was rain shortened.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Kind of like Casey Mears won his first career race in the Coke 600. It was a fuel mileage win.
Yeah, and what's interesting is kind of an ongoing theme that we had this year is the races that we throw out. Daytona, you throw out because it's Daytona and because of the rain. Mm-hmm. You throw out Talladega.
Because it's restrictor plates.
And now what's interesting is you throw out Charlotte.
I'm throwing out Charlotte, even though I would normally never throw out Charlotte. Charlotte's usually a great test of the driver team's mettle. We got basically just over a Busch race. From Monday.
Exactly. So, like we said, it's interesting because we automatically what we do. It's been a recurring theme this year as we've talked, weeks and weeks about NASCAR. Uh-huh. We throw out automatically restrictor plates because the results are, I mean, come on,
they're
Brad
skewed.
Keselowski. I mean,
Matt came to Brad Keselowski.
Yeah, and then you throw out rain, so it's interesting that Daytona was both. And then, like you said, the results I mean, you have to throw it out. So we're throwing